And ASRock thinks we're fools, ladies and gentlemen. They really do. I've been meaning to get this video out for a couple weeks, but I've been sick. I've been dealing with bleeding ulcers. I'm still feeling terrible. I'm just gonna try to plow right on through and get these set of videos done, and then go back and getting some rest. But anyway, I hope you're not an ASRock owner, considering what they've been up to the last few weeks, treating you like common criminals. I have one bleeding ulcer. I can only imagine how many ulcers you might have if your 9800 X3D burned up within an hour. Thanks to ASRock. This is from WCCF Tech. This has been going on. This was a story that dropped a couple weeks back, March 30th, and we're gonna follow the tea leaves here. Okay, over 100 dead Ryzen 9800 X3D cases have been reported, mostly on ASRock motherboards. In some cases, the CPUs went tits up within the hour. The There have been plenty of damaged Ryzen 7 9800 X3D cases in the last 2 months, and most cases show CPU failure while motherboards worked flawlessly. Out of the 107 incidents, the majority of the failures come from ASRock motherboard owners, but apparently motherboards aren't damaged in most cases. It appears that history is repeating itself. Last time it was Intel's Core i7 and i9 chips from the 13th and 14th gen, and this time it's the 9800 X3D CPU. There is a lot to investigate, but in the last 2 months, numerous reports have emerged, particularly on Reddit, where we saw physically damaged CPUs, and in some cases, the death was silent. A user compiled almost all such cases, again, mostly from Reddit, and it came out to roughly 107 total in the last 2 months. Out of 107 cases, and these are just what we know of, you got to think they ship these things on pallets by the thousands, by the hundreds or thousands. Uh, it came out to out of the 107 cases, the majority of reports are from ASRock motherboard owners, but there have been some ASUS, MSI, and Gigabyte incidents as well. Most incidences happened on the ASRock 800 series motherboards, including X870 and B850. However, some CPUs also failed on 600 series motherboards. As we see here, uh, um, the ASRock X870E Tai Chi killed a 9800 X3D in a week. Um, Resolution tested system with an 8500G. 9800 X3D was iron made. System working with replacement 9800 X3D. A steel B650 Steel Legend Wi-Fi lasted 2 days. A 9800 X3D. Micro Center confirmed the CPU was dead and replaced it. The motherboard was replaced with an MSI X670E Tomahawk Wi-Fi, and the system is working. ASRock X870 Steel Legend lasted half an hour. Managed to install Windows only. Resolution tested CPU on an MSI X870 motherboard, still failed. Got a replacement CPU from AMD, still working. After going through a few of them, we saw that most CPU failures occurred in just a few weeks, and in some cases, a half hour. What is exactly happening here is quite complex because in some cases we see burnt CPUs, which could indicate either overvoltage or user error, but in other cases, the CPUs show no signs of physical damage and respected motherboards were working totally fine with alternatives, such as another X3D CPU or a non-X3D CPU. In some instances, the Ryzen 9800 X3D failed twice, and hence users had to go through the long RMA process. One could imagine if there was some kind of common factor here, but it's not easy to figure out. While there were users who reported Ryzen 9800 X3 deaths after turning on Expo and manual overclocking on the CPU, there were cases where users didn't touch anything in the BIOS, ran it stock. The shipping defaults on the motherboard. These reports definitely instill fear into 9800 X3D owners, particularly those who own ASRock 800 series boards. But it should also be kept in mind that Ryzen 9800X3D sells thousands. Yeah, like I said, they're selling thousands of these every day. Therefore, the reports are only a fraction of what's going on. Nonetheless, it doesn't mean that the problem doesn't exist and or isn't crucial. Both AMD and ASRock need to dive deeper into the issue, and they did. And here's what. Uh, uh, let's see. I did have the article here, and it disappeared. Let me see if it's linked. Ah, there it is, right here. ASRock claims cleaning the AM5 socket mitigates these issues. Found. Oh God. Let's just keep reading because they're playing us for fools. ASRock says that and this dropped the 25th. ASRock says that by cleaning the AM5 socket, the motherboards will work without repairs and is likely to cause Ryzen 9800X 3D failures. How? What? This is dumb. Okay? These motherboards ship with covers on them. CPU covers. They ship with them. How does dirt get inside them? They're expecting, ASRock is expecting every kitchen table in every kitchen table in the world, or every little computer bench or computer desk to be lab freaking conditions. You got to run through a freaking compartment and depressurize and get the dust blown off you. Let's just keep reading. This is insane. The past few weeks recorded several AMD system failures, especially with 9800 X3Ds installed on ASRock motherboards, even though the problem was also seen on MSI, Tomahawk Wi-Fi. If you aren't familiar with this issue, then recently there have been several reports suggesting that ASRock motherboards have caused the failures and even deaths. As far as the latter is concerned, we've even seen users posting their damaged Ryzen 9800 X3D CPUs, but in a new press release, ASRock's claiming their AM5 motherboards aren't causing this at all. After gathering the CPU and motherboard combos for several such users, ASRock says it has found in its internal testing that one of such motherboards had no actual damage, just one board, but foreign objects in the socket that have caused the systems to not boot or damage the CPU. After removing these foreign objects, and I'd like to know how they did so with all these pins in the way, very fragile pins, you really can't use compressed air on them. ASRock compares the before and after pics of the AM5 socket, where one can see the notable difference between those. Right. There's nothing really to see here. As per ASRock, the motherboard started working properly and was able to pass the long burn-in and heavy load test without any repairs. This is what their ASRock machine translated. They posted this in Japanese, I'm assuming, or Chinese. Investigation report updated CPU burnout and abnormal startup of some processors encountered on the AMD platform. We have noticed on the forums that some AMD processors would not boot up under certain BIOS versions and cause CPU damage. We take these incidences very seriously. No, not seriously enough. In one case, the CPU was burned and damaged. We retrieved the motherboard. After testing, we found that this motherboard had no obvious damage or burn marks in the CPU power supply area, the VRM, and all measurement data of the motherboard still met the specifications after carefully cleaning the CPU socket. Okay, carefully cleaning the CPU socket. This is a lab condition. Okay, this is what they're telling you straight to your face. Under our glorious and gossamer and pristine dust-free lab conditions, we cleaned the CPU socket and removed foreign objects. Foreign objects that somehow teleported themselves in there after the CPU cover was put on there prior to shipping. ASRock did release a new BIOS last month to mitigate these issues, and it was assumed that it could be due to memory. However, nothing related to memory has been found in the investigation, and I guess AMD says, hey, you know what? all it needed was a BIOS update. ASRock's full of shit. April 2nd, one day after April Fool's Day, AMD comes out and says ASRock and AMD have investigated the matter together in order to resolve their 9800X3D failures on their motherboards. And since the launch, over 100 cases have come out, mostly on Reddit. There are cases where the system wouldn't allow to boot, particularly on ASRock AM5 motherboards. But here's what AMD said to Tom's Hardware. It's worth noting that a failure to post can be caused by a range of factors and does not necessarily indicate a non-functional CPU. We recommend that users start by updating their BIOS to the latest version available for their specific motherboard model. The companies have found that if you're seeking no luck in booting your system, it's best to update to the latest BIOS ASRock provides from its motherboard support pages. This would supposedly fix the problem, but in case you are someone who saw burn marks, that won't fix the issue for you. So first it was So first it was dust and debris. Oh, what? Well, AMD embarrassed us by showing us the truth. Oh, well, we got to backpedal now. So yeah, they're clearly playing you for fools because, of course, they don't want to be on the hook, warranty-wise, for recalling and replacing a lot of hardware, even though it's a fraction. I mean, come on, you think about do the math. They sell thousands, okay, thousands of these boards, and they sell thousands of the CPUs, and they're worried about 101 cases. This is how far they'll go to shirk responsibility and accountability over just 100, a little over 100 cases. Goddamn bunch of fucking grifters. I'll tell them, I'll say it right here and right now. This is Griftopia. Huh, we sell our products as is. They're trying to pull an Asus. When the Asus got dragged over their issue with the 13th and 14th gen Intel. So yeah, I just want just to let you know, okay? These companies are profitable. They're in business. They're in business to make money, and once they already have your money, you done lost your leverage. So you got to be very skeptical, and just don't treat these companies, okay? Don't treat Gigabyte and ASRock and MSI. Don't treat them as if they're the perpetually new person working at a McDonald's. They've been around for 40 fucking years, okay? They've been doing this for 40 freaking years. I've been doing this since 89. There's no excuse for this shit. And there's no excuse for them to project themselves as the perpetual new person. An innocent, we just fell off the turnip truck yesterday. Come on. Ring the bell and subscribe to Gonzo Media. We'll see you in the next one.